Greetings from our Middle Tennessee studio, and welcome to today's VistaPoints podcast, Choose Your Path, where the VistaPoints staff are committed to improving the quality of life for people of any age who are living with a physical, mental, or intellectual disability. I'm Bart, your podcast host. My role is to walk with you on this journey of discovering and using special needs trust. We continue our podcast interviews with an interview of a very interesting Tennessee moving company. It's so nice when we have a local company join us. We'll also give you stories of how people can use their special needs trust to pay for moving, downsizing, and decluttering. In case you're new to our podcast, I invite you to refer to past episodes, which are found on the VistaPoints website and on YouTube. I'll give you the exact location of where these podcasts are at the end of today's session. Health, self-care, and mental health are so important. You're probably wondering how these three topics relate to moving company. You'll understand more as we dive into the interview. Not only will we begin talking about mental health, but also emotional health and spiritual health. Hopefully, each of us recognizes the value in paying attention to our overall health for ourselves and for others. No matter who it is, what age someone is, or what phase in life they're in, our overall health matters. It reflects on others. Our goal today is to show you ways Moving Mama Company can help you live a good quality of life and have the overall good health. Today we have in our studio Leslie Kurtz, the owner of Moving Mama. This organization provides services in East Tennessee. The area's services includes Knox County and Knoxville, Maryville, Alcoa, and Seymour, Tennessee. Hello, Leslie. Thank you for joining us today. I have lots of questions for you that I think our listeners have asked us at VistaPoints. I'm confident you'll be able to answer all of them for us.
Hi, Bart. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm ready for you to share those questions with me.
Okay, let's start by you telling our listeners and me how you got started in this business. Was it something you had done for a long time with another company, or did you find you have a passion for helping people?
So, about 5 years ago, there was a confluence of events that sent me down this path. First, my mom was approaching the time in her life when she needed to downsize to one level living. That was a simple move as her space wasn't changing, though we did do some sorting and some scaling down. But within a year, she needed to move to assisted living. My three brothers thought, we'll just schedule a moving company and that'll be that. And it was like, oh no. I spent the entire summer helping her sort and decide what would stay, what would go, what would be sent to family and friends. And it was very emotional as she sorted through her lifetime of memories. She could only manage a few hours at a time. And it was kind of exhausting for me too. I was happy to be able to devote that much time to the project. And then, meantime, I had several friends who were either clearing out a parent's home or making life changes in favor of traveling. Now, these are, of course, different scenarios, but still emotionally and physically demanding. So I'm glad I was able to be there for my people. And it turned out, based on my own skill set, that I did have a talent for assessing and managing the chaos while still balancing the need to provide care and compassion. And I found out I really loved helping people with their memories. Up until that time, I had been a successful television producer, and I was kind of looking for a new adventure. And it turns out this is the same skill set. You approach a new project, break it down into parts, pull together the resources, manage the money, the personalities, the time, juggle all the balls, make the client happy. So, in a way, I was kind of in rehearsal for this business by doing what I did up until now.
It sounds like you come in contact with a variety of people who have several different types of concerns. Is there one type of person, like someone who's in their 80s, for instance, that's the most common customer?
So, the most common denominator for all my clients is change, and they have too much stuff. So, the goal is to match the stuff to the new adventure. And I try to help them see this transition as a positive new adventure. I have one client who was trying to move to a Sprinter van. After a difficult divorce, she did not want to be in the same space. As we were going through things, she'd pull something out like a wool blanket and say, "This is a great blanket, and I can use a great blanket." And then soon there were two, and then three, and then four wool blankets in the keeper pile. So of course the Sprinter van was going to be a semi truck at this point. So I finally suggested that she get a large storage unit and keep anything she wasn't certain about. She could afford that, and she simply wasn't going to be able to make all the decisions at this first pass. And I also felt like in her case, she might be getting rid of things she really should keep. So she did do that. We put a lot of things in storage, and she went off on her adventure. Within a year, she decided she did want a home base, bought a home, and needed all the things she had in storage. So now she has new space, old stuff, and a Sprinter van in the garage loaded and ready to go at any time. Another client, a 90-year-old, very fit, very determined lady, hired me at her son's request to downsize and move her. And in this situation, though they loved and supported each other, their personal dynamics were not ideal for making this type of transition. And I provide sort of a sounding board and a friendly perspective. And we were able to pare her things down and create a cozy space. She was really, really happy. She actually liked it better than her old apartment. So it's a careful approach to empower the client to make the right decisions and yet balance that with the realities of the new space.
That's an interesting story, Leslie. That tells me a lot about your area of expertise. Would you say something about how your clients' different types of requests allow you to do various things for and with them?
Sure. I had one client who had over 60 pieces of wall art, framed, serious paintings. And he was moving from a large 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom assisted living. And yet we made it a priority and managed to hang every single piece of his art. Additionally, as a surprise and to honor his service, we made a montage of the military awards and photos that he had in a folder in a drawer. And he was tickled with that. Another client was moving to a home, but her sister was wheelchair bound, and we were able to have a licensed contractor install a couple handicap ramps so she could get to the back porch and into the garage. I had another gentleman who was just relocating. He'd had someone pack him in Virginia, and they referred him to us, and we did the unpacking. So he wanted everything. He wanted shelf lining. He wanted pegboard installed in the garage and the tools organized. He needed a couple of items repaired. He wanted connected with services and area attractions like doctors and shops and gardeners and theaters. So, we took the time to hook him up with his whole community, not just set up his home.
Leslie, your business has so much more involved in it other than moving. And looking at your company brochure, I see you have about 9 areas of expertise, such as space planning, sorting, decluttering, downsizing, rehoming items, home repairs, packing, moving, unpacking, and organizing. This unpacking and organizing stands out to me. I recently moved. I had the movers pack our items, and when we got to the new home, they were supposed to be in the boxes with corresponding rooms. You think that happened? No, it did not. About 50% of the boxes were actually labeled, so the movers put the boxes wherever they thought they'd go. I sure could have used someone to help me unpack and organize my things.
Well, we do love to unpack, especially when we did the packing. We're as invested as the client at this point in how their new home will look. So The first and most important thing I do with my clients is create a floor plan. So we sit down, I take all the measurements onto a magnet board, and we start putting the little furniture magnets in it. And this really helps folks understand exactly how much stuff they will be able to take. I mean, I can also show them that we'll need to leave a clear path for their safety, or we can account for wheelchair space within the room when we're designing the floor plan. And at some point, they realize they have to make choices. It's not anyone's opinion, it's just physics. Generally, with the map in front of them, they see this for themselves. And as long as it's their decision, they're generally willing to make the necessary cuts. Not this chair, but that chair, that kind of thing. Especially with clients moving to memory care, it's so important that we get the new place up and running as quickly as possible because they need the familiarity of a fully realized space. So we love organizing closets. Half my staff is OCD, which is a skill set, and nice and neat makes them happy. And I think we really excel at taking the space from moved in to home. We make beds, hang curtains, stock the fridge, put out personal items, hang all the photos and art, install the TV. And several of us have design backgrounds, so I think we do a terrific job with the decor. And I do come back in a few days after the move to check and make sure our clients can find everything and see if they want any tweaks. One client I recently moved into assisted living didn't want much from his old space. He wanted a fresh new start. So he told me to go buy him curtains and decor and bedding. But he made my most favorite comment from a man ever. He said, "You buy it and I'll like it," which he did.
I wish I'd known about your company before I moved. And now that I have many things to rehome. What does Moving Mama do to rehome items for a client?
Well, all of us have too much stuff. I mean, I have three sizes of jeans in my closet because someday those little ones are going to fit, and I might need the big ones for the winter. And I think stuff just happens. I can't say this enough, but your kids don't want your stuff. They don't. So, with that in mind, when we start sorting, we encourage a mindset. And the whole idea about asking if something brings you joy is great, but it's just a start. Some things bring us joy, but they also take up space. So, since deciding to let go means more than just stuff, to some folks, it's a sign of their diminishing independence. To others, it's a comfort thing, or they feel safe having extras. Either way, I find the first thing is to respect the priorities or to create new ones. Like the case of the gentleman who had all his military stuff in a drawer. Making that a centerpiece meant a lot to him. If my client wants that ugly chair, we will make it work. The second idea is to make a way to save the memory without taking the item with us. And that can be done through photo galleries, scrapbook pages. Family and grandkids can be included in this, which encourages sharing and conversation. We ask questions like, do you need all your china? Or can we just take one plate and hang it as wall art? Can you make packages for your family and include a little note with your personal story? I have some of my great grandmother's embroidery, which I love, and there's a letter on the back from her about the art. So once we've looked at the memories and respected that space, the next thing is that we realize folks may be willing to downsize, but they have a hard time because things have value. So on my first pass, we find items that family or friends may want, and I tell the family, you take it. What you do with it later is up to you, but for now, honor the gift. So Moving Mama can pack the items for moving or ship them as needed. Secondly, I talk to the client about what charities they care about. And if they don't have any, I have a few that I work with who do really good things in the community, and I'll discuss those with them. And we talk about donation and how much value their things will be to these organizations. So you'd be amazed how quickly the giveaway piles grow once they realize that their local elementary school, animal shelter, women's shelter, food pantry will so appreciate their donations. And of course, we make arrangements for these things to be picked up or delivered. And then finally, selling. I don't really encourage a lot of selling. Most people don't have the time to place things where they will get the best prices. They're not happy that their couch is only worth $50 on Marketplace. It's better if they donate. But if they don't want to, I encourage family members to help with this if that is workable. Otherwise, I'll list them for the client, or if there are some nicer items, I have a few estate sale folks that will let me put a few items into an ongoing estate sale. Now, the consignment and the estate sale folks are going to take 40%, which is the normal fee for selling your items. So the client needs to factor that into their decisions. The other problem is a lot of our clients don't have the time. They need to move within the month. And, getting an item valued and into a sale and moved and sold just simply may not work with the time frame. If they do have any items of real value, we will turn to the family first. And after that, we'll try to find an appropriate consignment seller. So again, I really try to give appropriate items to families. I try to donate. And the last thing is really to try to sell items of value.
I understand what you're telling me, Leslie, but let me ask you, do your clients' family members ever get in the way? For example, do they overstep their boundaries? Do they try to tell you what to do, or do they step back and let you do your job?
I've been very lucky. I mean, in most cases, the family is so happy to have a neutral party. Now, I'm a member of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, which is the professional association for folks that do what I do. And as a member, we are required to complete specialty training, to stay up to date on current training. We have to have insurance, and there's a code of ethics. And the number one priority in the code of ethics is that I need to be an advocate for my client, not their family, not the doctor, not the senior living facility, but the client. So the client is in charge. And I'm very clear about that up front. And most people understand and respect that. That isn't to say that I can't see that a family member's input is crucial. But given that, it's a matter of diplomacy to nudge the client down the best path. I mean, for example, most folks moving to assisted living need very little in the way of kitchen items. However, it's impossible for some folks to conceive of not being able to cook a meal. So I organize a small kit of all they really need, include their favorite coffee cups, items like mixing bowls that can do double duty, anything that they must have. And we get the kitchen down to a small box. It's just a patient, gentle process. So my first client was actually the mom of a friend. And my friend said if she and her brother had to work together to move her mom, they'd end up killing each other. And their mom was a craft hoarder with, 57, really, literally, I counted bins of cloth and as many of yarn. So, gently and slowly, we got it all down to a manageable size, and the siblings didn't come to blows. And again, they were happy that someone else was having these conversations with their mom, and they stayed completely out of my way. Now, sometimes I have to say no to a client or a family member. And a lot of that's when they want things that aren't allowed or aren't safe, like throw rugs or appliances that aren't allowed. But again, because it's not someone personally arguing with them and there is a real reason to eliminate certain items, usually the client agrees without the family having to get in the middle of it. But I guess the bottom line is most of the families are so overwhelmed they need to care for their family member.
Well, it sounds like in addition to the 9 areas we talked about before, or was it seven, you also have family counseling involved. You do family counseling with these people at the same time. As you know, Vista Points work with people of any age who are living with a physical, mental, or intellectual disability. Have you worked with someone who's not a senior citizen but has a disability? And how were you able to help this person?
I have found that folks with a physical disability need our awareness and specific accommodations. However, as they know what they want and need, they are no different to work with than abled folks. I do check with the client, caregivers, family members to make sure we understand and provide any special needs that are in our wheelhouse. For example, things like lowering mirrors and towel racks for wheelchair bound folks, or making sure there's a path and a parking area and a turnaround space for the chairs. Clients with a mental or with intellectual considerations require a more collaborative approach. I mean, everyone deserves to have their wishes known. So the first thing to do is listen. What color do they like? Let's get a blue bedspread. What is their favorite thing? Let's hang that photo of you and your mom in a place of honor. What is calming for them? Let's set you up an easy way to access music. Do they want lots of light or heavy light blocking curtains? I mean, these are things they can let me know and we can accommodate. The details of their move may be beyond them. And in that case, I'll rely on family, friends, or caregivers about what to take and how to organize things. Or I can rely on my own best experience and then gently and patiently walk them through the final product and offer to make any changes.
This is so helpful, Leslie, and all your training and experience. You've talked about things I certainly would have never considered. I know you must keep everybody's business confidential, but now that we know the facts about the type of business you provide, will you share a story of a client that stands out in your mind? Our listeners enjoy these feel good stories.
There are moments in every move that make me happy. When Betty bragged to me about how much her friends love her new home, that they couldn't believe how personal it looked. When Paul teared up when he saw our homage to his military service. When my friend who was emptying her dad's home realized we did not have to match every cable to every electronic. When my dementia client walked into her new memory care space and said, "It's still home." When I get hugs from family members and they don't let go. When I get pictures from my clients of them thriving in their new environments. My staff and I are very honored to serve these folks.
Leslie, thanks for sharing that story. As our executive director, Darlene Kemp says, that's wonderful. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Our listeners write us with questions about various topics. When it comes to moving, downsizing, or decluttering, they want to know the cost. This is important to them because they can use their special needs trust money to pay for these services. Like, is it expensive or inexpensive, or how would you say?
It's virtually impossible to calculate the cost of a specific move without seeing the items, talking with the client, his family, knowing what they want, and how much they can do themselves. So I do offer a free on-site visit and estimate. Moving Mama charges less for packing than most moving companies, and most moving companies won't unpack. They certainly won't make the beds. In some cases, the person moving doesn't have anyone to help and simply can't do it themselves. But even when families are available, they may want to spend quality time with the client, may not be able to physically do the labor, or they may have their hands full with work and families and not have chunks of time to devote to the move. They may live out of town and have to travel and take time off work. So these are the unseen costs of having family do the moving. Now, we do offer a la carte because every situation is different. Sometimes we just unpack, sometimes we just pack. Sometimes we help with the whole process, finding a realtor, getting the house ready, helping them resettle after they've sold the house. We believe Moving Mama offers value, peace of mind, and turns a difficult situation into a positive transition.
Leslie, this is great information. Let me ask you, do you have one last story or thought you'd like to share with our listeners before we conclude?
So, life is change, life is transition for all of us. And to handle this with respect, to cherish the memories, make room for grief, add order to the chaos, empower our clients, and help them transition with grace is our privilege at Moving Mama. And I have learned so much from these folks about living well. And each of you can have that experience as well. Just reach out to a friend or a neighbor and ask them about their life and just listen.
Thank you, Leslie, for sharing this information and for being on our Vista Points Choose Your Path podcast. You're providing our listeners with a range of examples and benefits using a moving company like Moving Mama. I am sure our listeners appreciate this information you have shared. If our listeners would like to reach you or schedule your free consultation you talked about, what's the best way to contact you?
I can be reached by phone at 865 363 3752 or by email at Leslie, that's Leslie, at movingmama, MAMA, .info. Leslie at movingmama.info. And I have a website where you can get some information on moving and some helpful tips and tricks to get yourself ready. And that website is movingmama.info.
Thanks, Leslie. Would you give us that information once again, just in case somebody was grabbing their pencil right then, and their phone number, please?
Certainly. I can be reached by phone at 865 363 3752, by email at Leslie at movingmama.info. And our website is movingmama.info.
That's great information. Thanks again, Leslie. I'm confident this information has encouraged at least one of our listeners to give you a call. I'm so glad you joined me today on the podcast to talk about Moving Mama. Thanks so much to our podcast listeners for tuning into today's episode of Choose Your Path, a Vista Points podcast. Don't forget to ask your questions. If you haven't yet, I encourage you to do so. You can ask your questions by calling the Vista Point office at 888-422-4076. That number again is 888-422-4076. Each of the Vista Points team is happy to answer your questions and assist you in whatever way they can. You can find more information about Special Needs Trust for people of any age who are living with a physical, mental, or intellectual disability on our Facebook page, Vista Points Inc. That's Vista Points INC. I'm happy to say our podcast has become an informative resource for so many people. You can subscribe to the Vista Points YouTube channel, and you'll be notified of the latest episodes as they go live, which is on the 1st and 15th of every month. The YouTube channel is named Vista Points SNT. That's SNT as in Special Needs Trusts. You can also find past podcast episodes on the Vista Point website at vistapoints.org. That's vistapoints.org. Just click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. It'll take you to all our podcasts. Enjoy your day with your loved one. Come back for more or look into past episodes of Choose Your Path. Regardless of where or when you find us, we walk beside you on your path. I look forward to sharing more information with you on how Special Needs Trust can be of benefit to anyone living with a disability. Cheers.